canceling out, or the xy terms canceling out. So let's go ahead and expand this out. So we get 16 times the denominator on this is just going to be 25. 25 squared is 25. So that's going to be our denominator. The numerator is going to be 3x prime minus 4y prime squared. So we've got to FOIL that out. So 3 is going to give us 9x prime squared minus 12x prime y prime minus 12x prime y prime. So minus 24x prime y prime. And then plus 16y prime squared. All right. And then this one, let's expand this out. Minus 24 times 3, again, we're going to have 25 in the denominator. The numerator, we got 3x prime times 4x prime is going to give us 12x prime squared. And then plus 9x prime y prime minus 16. So this is going to give us minus 7x prime y prime. And then minus 12 y prime squared. All right, and then continuing on to this down here, we get plus 9 times, this should be squared. So that's going to be 16, again, 25 in the denominator. 16x prime squared plus 12x prime y prime plus 12x prime y prime. So this is plus 24x prime y prime. And then plus 9 y prime squared. All right. So now we can start to, it's going to start to get better. It's going to get a little worse before it gets better, but let's write this out. Let me, I'm going to lower my camera down just a minute so that we can put all of this down here. All right, so let's break this up and distribute this all the way across here. So we get 16 times 9 is 144 x prime squared over 25. So we're just going to do a term at a time here. And then, actually, let me write this a little bit lower. 144 x prime squared over 25. Minus 16 times 24 is 384 x prime y prime over 25. Plus 16 times 16 is 256 y prime squared over 25. All right, continuing on, we've got 24 times 12 is 288. So minus 288 x prime squared over 25. And then negative 24 times negative 7 is positive 100 168 x prime y prime over 25. And then negative 24 times negative 12 is positive 288 y prime squared. And again over 25. And then continuing on, 9 times 16 is 144. So plus 144 x prime squared over 25. 9 times 24 is, let's see, 9 times 24, 9 times 12 is 108, so this is 216, so plus 216 x prime y prime over 25. And then finally plus 81 y prime squared over 25. All right, so now we can go through and we can start canceling some stuff out. So let's start with the x prime y prime over, those are the terms we really want to get rid of. So here we've got negative 384, positive 168, positive 216. Those are our three x prime y prime terms. So x prime y, 216 plus 168 is 384. And so all of these are in fact going to cancel. And that's what we want to have happen every time. Now let's see what happens to the rest of them. So the x prime squared terms, we've got 144 minus 288, that's negative 144, plus 144. So all of the x prime squared terms also go away. This is starting to look a lot nicer. And what we're left with for the rest is 256. Now all of these are positive, so the y prime squared terms are not going to go away. We get 256 plus 288 plus 81, that's 625 y prime squared. So let's go back up here. All that we're left with are the y prime squared terms. And what we're left with is 625 y prime squared over 25. All right. And of course we can simplify this. 625 divided by 25 is 25. So this is 25 y prime squared. And remember that was from these three terms. So what we're left with is minus 30 times, and now we've got to plug our x back in. What did we have for our x? 3 x prime, is it minus 4 y prime over 5 minus 40 times our y, which is 4x prime plus 3y prime over 5 equals 0. All right. So now let's simplify these. So the 5 and the 30, this will just be 6. 5 and 40, this would be 8. So we get 25 y prime squared minus 6 times 3 is 18 x prime. Negative 6 times negative 4 y prime is positive 24 y prime. Minus 8 times 4 is 24 x prime. Sorry, that's 32. 32 x prime, and then 8 times 3, negative 24 y prime. And now more stuff is canceling. 24 y prime, negative 24 y prime, that goes away. So we get 25 y prime squared, and then x prime and negative 18x prime minus 32x prime is negative 50x prime equals 0. And let's go ahead and move this over to the other side. So we get 25 y prime squared equals 50 x prime. And now we've got to, both of these are divisible by 25. So we can divide both sides by 25, and we get y prime squared is equal to 2x prime. So in the end, it did become a lot simpler than the equation that we were originally given. In the middle, not so simple. But in the end, we were able to create a much simpler equation for this conic section that by rotating the x, y axes onto these x prime and y prime axes.